All right, testing that microphone. Check one, check two. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop from a remote location today, and gonna see if this works. As I've got hooked up to Starlink in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna try this to see if we could do live programs while I'm on the road. See how this plays out. So, if you're joining live, give me the thumbs up if you can hear me just fine. All right. I want to see those thumbs up. Okay, Joe gives me a thumbs up. Who else is going to give me that thumbs up? So, yeah, inside a travel trailer that I picked up recently. So this is going to be interesting to see where I can go throughout the state, maybe do some interviews with people across the state to be able to bring you a live program while on the road, especially since they're not in session. Of course, when they are in session, we got to be on the ground there. So we'll clearly still be working every day to bring you the latest that you need to know. But this just gives me another opportunity to get out there a bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. So good to see Tenebris 5x5, thumbs up. So yeah, we're going to do this. All right. It looks like it's coming through fine. The Starlink out in the middle of a farm field, beaming into the sky with a high resolution video. So let's get into it. All right. Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we bring you the latest. Of course, the digs here in the camper. Still got some stuff to do. Got to get this little TV back there with a graphic on it or something. Maybe I put a little Bishop on Air sticker right here. Got my Bishop on Air coffee. Delicious. But yes, obviously, you can get this program each and every weekday morning right here on YouTube with the Center Square. But you can also get the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And don't forget, you can also get the headlines in your inbox. Go to thecentersquare.com. All right, let's check it out when it comes to the latest lawsuit filed by Illinois Republicans on the issue of the 3 readings rule and alleged violations. And this is something that obviously we talked about last week with a separate lawsuit that some Republicans filed. So we'll talk about the latest coming against a piece of legislation that Republicans say is going to further damage the state's business climate. We also got to talk a little bit about the budget, and in particular what some call pork projects, including $5 million for NASCAR, with streets in Chicago set to start closing this week, heading into the NASCAR races in downtown Chicago. How much are they getting? $5 million from state taxpayers. So we'll hear an interesting back and forth in a Senate committee when they were in session before the budget passed. So let's make it happen, all right? It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. The 3 readings rule in the Illinois Constitution spells out how legislation is supposed to be proposed and read 3 separate days in each chamber before it passes, giving voters and constituents and taxpayers, let alone legislators, the ability to actually read the legislation before it takes effect. Welcome back. Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, on the road, but still with you, and you can like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. So last week we talked about the Illinois Freedom Caucus and their lawsuit against the state budget passage. And that was essentially, them saying the 3 readings rule is violated. It's violated all the time by majority state House Democrats, and they don't like how that process plays out because it gave them very few hours to actually read the budget, read the tax increase bill, read the BIMP, the budget implementation bill. This is thousands and thousands of pages, right? And this happens every year. I've been covering the State House for 11 years now, 11 budget cycles. And it's always last minute when they drop it. And it doesn't get fully vetted. It leads to constituents being left in the dark, according to legislators. So the Freedom Caucus filed that lawsuit last week. We talked with Andrew Chesney, state senator from Freeport, and he expressed how this is just an ongoing problem that needs to have the courts step in to address it. So they filed a lawsuit. That lawsuit in Sangamon County does have a hearing set for July 3rd. It's just going to be a status hearing, really getting the parties together in the room for the first time. The lawsuit challenges House Speaker Chris Welch and Senate President Don Harmon. So that's the budget lawsuit. Despite the budget being signed on Monday by Governor J.B. Pritzker, this lawsuit's going to go forward. And the Freedom Caucus, the state of Illinois, 7 legislators, they're hoping to find the process to invalidate the budget. What that would mean for the July 1st budget start, it's a great question. I will say, listen, in the 11 years I've covered the State House, I covered that 2.5-year budget impasse during the Rauner administration where Democrat House Speaker Mike Madigan wouldn't pass a balanced budget. So, there are some kind of stopgaps that can happen if there's not a budget in place, but it would definitely throw some tumult our way, no question. But yesterday, some other Republicans at the State House filed a separate lawsuit challenging a piece of legislation they say violated the 3 readings rule and will make Illinois' business climate less friendly. Here is House Minority Leader Tony McCombie discussing why this is important, and they're bringing it out now.
The suit seeks to restore a constitutional process for passing legislation where we have transparency, a chance to read and understand each bill's intent, an opportunity to speak to our constituents, and then actually make an informed vote. We have long discussed with our partners, members, and constituents filing suit on this issue even prior to me being in leadership.
So this has been an ongoing issue at the State House of the legislation being filed early in the year. Hundreds of shell bills being passed through by both Republican leaders and Democratic leaders. And they get these shell bills set up to where if they need a vehicle to pass something last minute, they can grab a shell bill, gut and replace it, and then get it through in shorter order. Senate Minority Leader John Curran, a Republican from Downers Grove, he joined McCombie yesterday in this announcement of a lawsuit, Senate Bill 328, that he says essentially would make the state's business climate even worse.
This bill allows lawsuits to occur in Illinois when businesses transact somewhere else with someone not in Illinois, and it having nothing to do with Illinois. A lesser known provision in this bill also allows foreign businesses to be sued here as well. This would discourage, rather than encourage, businesses to register in the state of Illinois, to do business here, and more importantly, to invest in Illinois' economy.
So the business environment in the state has long been a point of contention for business owners, for taxpayers, for Republicans who say everything from the high property taxes to the functionality of government and the lack of transparency and the adherence to special interests, the high workers' comp costs, property taxes, high other taxes, gas taxes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But Curran says that this has to change, and this particular law should not be enacted.
President of the Illinois Manufacturers Association, Mark Denzler, said this legislation, introduced and rushed through the legislature at the behest of trial lawyers, will have a negative impact on business attraction efforts and economic development while further burdening our already underfunded and overburdened court system.
And you've got the state having been found to be a judicial hellhole in some jurisdictions. I mean, how often do you hear about Madison County and all of the asbestos litigation that there is? So what the arguments are is that this is going to open up even more frivolous litigation against businesses, not just in Illinois, even outside of Illinois. More from Leader Curran.
Should Governor Pritzker choose the special interest over the best interest of Illinois and intend to sign this law, we have stepped in. Our next step in the process is to seek a preliminary injunctive relief to stop this bill in its tracks and allow for a full review of it and its constitutionality. And if a court agrees with us that the process employed by the Democratic majority to ram this proposal through in the last minute with no transparency does in fact violate the Constitution, this bill will be voided.
And how does that impact other bills down the line that may have been a gut and replace bill, allegedly violating the 3 readings rule? I mean, the court's going to have to tackle that question ultimately whenever this and the other case from the Freedom Caucus starts moving through. Travis Weaver, a Republican from Peoria, he really spelled out how the 3 readings rule impacts the transparency of legislation, and how Senate Bill 328 is just one of a slew of measures that passed this past spring, doing a gut and replace with shell bills.
Another clear message from Illinois Democrats to any business considering a move to Illinois: you're not wanted here. Senate Bill 328 is a clear violation of the 3 readings rule. A gut and replace at the end of session passed in a way to intentionally block Illinois citizens and businesses from providing feedback on the bill's destructive nature. We know that Senate Bill 328 isn't the only time the majority party hid the ball from the people they say they represent. We found at least 24 instances where the 3 readings rule was violated this spring. Senate Bill 328 is just the worst example.
24 instances of shell bills, gut and replace, passing legislation allegedly violating the 3 readings rule. And again, this really comes down to a process that allows for transparent conversation, debate, allowing for the taxpayers to view and provide input to their representatives on how they should vote for the interests of their constituents. When it comes to the budget, that seems to be, obviously a separate lawsuit from what the Republicans talked about yesterday about Senate Bill 328. But when the budget, there's regulation in Illinois that essentially says you have to, if you're in a municipality and you're a municipal leader, you're getting ready to pass a budget, you have to have that transparent for 30 days before you can pass it. That's not the case in the State House. Obviously, as we watched, the State House regularly waits until the last minute to even reveal the budget. Same thing happens with other pieces of legislation. More from Travis Weaver.
Breaking the 3 readings rule on Senate Bill 328 is like organized crime theft. Absolutely no redeeming qualities. It's stealing for sport and self-advancement. Senate Bill 328 could have been heard in January, February, March, April, May. It could have been taken up in veto session. It could have been a 2026 item, a 2027 item, a 2028 item, or we could have never passed it. There's absolutely no excuse for breaking the 3 readings rule on Senate Bill 328. And it's time that Illinois people are made aware of the extent to which Illinois Democrats are willing to go to pass unwanted legislation.
So it's a lawsuit Republicans have filed. It's something that we'll be tracking to see how far this goes. You've got that separate lawsuit from the Freedom Caucus challenging the budget. A lot of things stacking up for us to watch over the summer. But here's State Senator Jason Plummer talking about the litigious environment in Illinois and how Senate Bill 328 could add to that.
The Metro East region is already ranked as one of the worst judicial environments in the United States. And the people of Madison County, St. Clair County, and the surrounding areas have witnessed firsthand how our well-deserved judicial reputation drives out businesses, jobs, and opportunity for the families that live there. This legislation goes against all the work that local leaders and I have done to promote our region as a great place to do business, not waste your time and money fighting frivolous lawsuits.
So will this actually have any impact on how this measure proceeds? It's something the governor could sign, and it's something that he could veto. If he vetoes it, then maybe the lawsuit is moot. But if he signs it, the Republicans here are hoping that the courts will step in and say, listen, you can't pass legislation like this in the state of Illinois anymore. Here's Curran laying out how he feels that the courts should move on all of this.
It's an abuse of it. And certainly at a minimum, it violates the spirit of what the Constitution calls for, which is that a legislative proposal be read on 3 consecutive days in each chamber. And if it's amended in the second chamber, not the originating chamber, it must go back to the originating chamber for concurrence. This process used was a complete gut and replace. On the last day in the second chamber, completely new language, completely changing the bill, and then passing it through that second chamber, in this instance, the Senate, and back to the House for concurrence in the same day. That is a clear violation of what the Constitution calls for.
Now, there's some question as to how the courts will actually tackle this, because in the past, we had some challenges to the 3 readings rule. One very memorable is the Dan Calkins case, former state representative who, as a state rep, sued the state of Illinois over the state's gun and magazine ban. That went all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. Part of the argument in that case dealt with the 3 readings rule. And the majority on the Illinois Supreme Court sided with the state on all of that. So there's times where they have the 3 readings rule brought up as arguments against legislation, and it doesn't seem that the courts fully have addressed that issue. Maybe this is going to be the opportunity now with 2 separate cases challenging alleged violations of the 3 readings rule. Will the courts actually make something happen here? Again, here's Curran with some final thoughts.
Justice Holder White's recent dissent calling out and highlighting this abuse of the legislative process in the Calkins case. And recently Judge Bowie in his dissent also highlighted this abuse of the 3 readings rule by the General Assembly. We believe the courts are in a position now to actually end this process and restore transparency to the legislative process in the state of Illinois.
Are we actually going to see this happen? Stay tuned, because we will be watching here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join us each and every weekday morning as we bring you the latest in the land of Lincoln. Get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. And don't forget the headlines. You can get those in your inbox each and every weekday morning by going to thecentersquare.com and clicking newsletter and sign up today. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Part of the $55.2 billion spending plan is what some criticize as pork projects. Pork projects that only went to Democrat districts, while Republicans say they had no part in conversations about bringing extra state tax dollars back to their districts. And Republicans even saying that the budgets can't afford such projects. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Sometimes I'm at my home studio. It looks like other times I may be in my mobile home studio. Here we are in a camper that's going to give me some flexibility to get out there on the road when they're not in session. So good to see that we're connected. It says excellent connection. Starlink is doing its job out in the middle of nowhere. I specifically went out in the middle of nowhere to make sure that we could do this. So it looks like thumbs up. Everything's so far so good. I'll tweak some things, get a graphic on the TV back there, maybe a sticker, either way. So let's get to this, because $55.2 billion spending plan. That's a lot of money. It's the largest state spending plan in state history. And yes, it pays for pensions. It pays for K through 12 schools. It pays for higher education. It pays for state employees. It pays for Illinois State Police. Pays for prisons, it pays for a whole host of things. And we've also gone through just some of the other things it pays for, tons of not not-for-profit, non-government organizations getting dollars. You've got the money that we talked about that's going to be set aside for the Health Benefits for Immigrant Seniors program, $140 million. They're getting rid of the Health Benefits for Immigrant Adults program. But you also have tens of millions of dollars going to chambers of commerce across the states, different community organizations that are non-government, a whole bunch of other projects and earmarks and line items, $500,000 here, 120,000 there, 1.5 million here, different groups and different districts getting all kinds of money. So it seems to go above and beyond just the crucial government functions that taxpayers are looking for. And this is while you've got a large amount of pension obligation, $140 billion of unfunded pension obligation. You've got other structural issues with the state of Illinois, our outgoing population trends of people who live in the state of Illinois moving to other states. Out of 11 years, 10 of those years, a decade of decline, while last year you had more international migration in than people moving out, keeping Illinois' numbers somewhat flat from the year before when it comes to population. So tons of different things going on. However, in the budget shown last minute, you've got tens of millions of dollars going out to member districts. And this is something that every year Republicans raise alarm about, that Democrats give themselves and their members specific line items, with 1.5 million going to each Democrat House district, or like 3 million going to each Democrat Senate district. It's a big problem that Republicans say shows how unfair the process is. We did air a little bit of this the other day, but during Monday's budget signing ceremony, House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch was asked about $40 million in the budget going to a school district in his district. And how is that fair to not only other state taxpayers? I mean, I live in a school district. I pay taxes to that school district. If they want a new building, they've got to ask me either for more taxes or save every penny and down the road get a new building. But in Speaker Welch's district, the criticism is that those local taxpayers aren't going to be footing the bill for this project. It's the state taxpayers that are going to be footing the bill for this project. Here he is responding to that.
Marianne, thank you for the question. And as you and I talked shortly after session ended, this is a regional project that's not only going to help my community in Proviso Township and Proviso West High School, which I'm extremely proud of, being a graduate of Proviso West High School. It's going to help Cook County. It's going to help DuPage County. It's going to be a major transformational economic development tool for that entire region. It's going to help hotels. It's going to help restaurants. It's going to help communities build new housing because sports complexes drive economic development. It's happening all over the state. It's happening all over the Midwest in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and I'm really proud of that. I'm also proud of the fact that if you look in this budget and in previous years' budgets, there are other regional projects that are in the budget. As we talked a couple of weeks ago, there's $30 million in there for a bridge in Kane and McHenry County. There's $33 million over a couple of budgets for a sports complex in Tinley Park. There's $34 million in the budget for Lane Tech High School for capital improvements. If you go through the budget, there's a whole host of these regional projects that are in there. And for those that are saying that their communities are overlooked, let me respond to that this way. My new Chief of Staff, Clayton Harris III, is here with me this morning. One of the things that we're proud of doing is that we took the minority leader and her Chief of Staff to dinner. And I turned to her and I said, "Leader, how can I help you? How can I help your members?" And her response to me was, "Don't expect us to vote for the budget. Don't expect us to get primaried." Let me tell you, I vote for a budget because I want to help my community. I don't do something because I worry about the next election. If helping Proviso in the region that I grew up in is going to cost me an election, I'm willing to do that. I'm fine with that. But people sent me to Springfield to help the community, to help this state, and I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm really proud of it.
So yesterday, how Republicans who announced a lawsuit against the state of Illinois' speaker and Senate president over the three readings rule violations, which, by the way, I know that was last segment, but I got to get this in. Senate President Don Harmon's spokesperson did respond to that lawsuit, said, seems like other frivolous lawsuit designed to distract from the fact that Republicans once again opposed investing in education, protecting seniors, and improving health care. The budget is credible. This lawsuit is not. So that's in reference to the lawsuit that was filed challenging the budget and the three readings rule violations. But back to the what Republicans call pork in the budget. House Minority Leader Tony McCombie, I asked her yesterday during that news conference where they announced that lawsuit against Senate Bill 328. I asked her to respond to Speaker Welch, saying that he's willing to be held accountable by his constituents for bringing more money back to the state from the state to his district. And here's McCombie reacting to that.
No, we did not have any opportunity, but also this is not the year for anybody in the General Assembly to be getting pork projects. We can't afford it. The budget was so-called balanced on one-time sweeps and just taking money from the other state funds away from the general revenue fund, putting us $1 billion for FY27. So absolutely, no, we were not asked. And it's certainly not the time. And any leader to sit there and say that $40 million for a sports complex is similar to a bridge infrastructure rebuild is certainly not understanding the needs of infrastructure in the state of Illinois.
And it's a question of priorities too, and what are the priorities here? In Springfield, for instance, they've been talking about this big sports complex over by Shields, and they even extended a major thoroughfare through Springfield to go all the way down to them. They even extended through Springfield highway so they could expand this Legacy Point area with hotels and a major sports complex that has multiple outdoor fields and a big indoor dome. Like they just unveiled and opened up this inflatable dome to have indoor sports. This had been talked about in Springfield for 10 years, if not 20 or 30 years. Finally came to fruition, but it was a lot of haggling within the community as to, do we pay for it with TIF dollars, tax increment finance district dollars? Do we pay for it with a sales tax increase locally just to spur on more development, more money? So a lot of wrangling. I'm not sure if they did get state dollars. They definitely didn't get $40 million to build that sports complex in Springfield, but that sports complex came together. Again, it's about priorities, right? With the state budget, most expensive state spending plan, reliant on tax increases, by the way, of $400+ million coming from increased tobacco taxes, increased sports wagering, hotel taxes being expanded for bed and breakfasts, and a whole host of other things, corporate tax changes, $1 billion of new taxes and new collections. So is the pork projects, as McCombie laid out, necessary? But it's not just these individual projects going out to member districts. You also have private entities being assisted substantially by Illinois tax dollars. During a Senate Appropriations Committee before the budget passed, State Senator Don DeWitt, a Republican from St. Charles, and State Senator L.G. Sims, a Democrat from Chicago, they debated a couple of different line items in the budget, in particular, $5 million going to NASCAR. Here is part of that debate.
There were a couple of items that showed up in this budget. One of the items happens to be a $5 million appropriation for NASCAR for costs associated with operating expenses to the city of Chicago. Is this one of the state's priorities?
The economic impact that exists from NASCAR weekend is to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars. So yes, if tourism is something that you support, is absolutely part of the state's priorities. Every time someone comes, we've talked about the revenues that we all pay when someone goes to downtown Chicago. And I know folks like to beat up on Chicago, but when folks come downtown, go to have dinner, stay at a hotel, go and see a show, that brings economic development to the state of Illinois. So yes, I would contend that that is a statement of our priorities, because we love to show off how great Illinois is, and particularly how great Chicago is.
So if it's such a wonderful economic development program to bring these folks into town every year, and it brings so much economic income to the city, why do we need to subsidize it?
It is our opportunity to support the development, the economic development which exists from that, just as we have economic development which exists in Downers Grove and Carlinville and in DuQuoin. So there's economic development that happens across the state. There's tourism that happens across the state. Should we not support any of them? Just in Carlinville and there's economic development that happens across the state. There's tourism.
Moving on to appropriate. I guess for the Country Club Republicans, for the President's Cup being held at Medina Country Club. Again, I would attest a very significant economic development proposal. Why are we subsidizing the PGA? Is that a priority in this state?
I'm going to refer back to my previous answer about economic development, because it doesn't just apply to the city of Chicago, but it applies to the area where Medina is located. It applies to the western suburbs, the southern suburbs, the northern suburbs of Chicago, the collar counties. Our economic development, the economic development and tourism that is derived from these investments, and let me say that because I'm sure we can go down each one of these initiatives and try and point out each individual initiative. These are investments in communities. There's our investments in our tourism. These are investments in showcasing our state. These are investments. So I say I would assume, and I will submit that there's probably a list of items that you have, and my answer is going to be similar to each one of those line items that you point out.
That may be the case. I guess the
So
question
again, DeWitt asking about priorities. Are these things listed in the budget? $40 million for NASCAR, $1 million to a golf facility, and then we could just go through and look at all of the other spending there is. It's takes a lot when you got 3,300 pages of line items to tackle through. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for The Center Square. Get headlines in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. And get this podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. Well, how did we do? How did the Starlink do? Did it do all right out in the middle of nowhere? I think I had one major drop, but it was only for a few seconds. I will say I'm impressed so far with the remote internet, and we'll do this again tomorrow. And I'll be plotting out some other places I might travel to throughout the summer. But obviously, when they're back in session at the State House in Springfield, still got the house back home, gonna be able to get in there and stay the night and go right to the Capitol and cover all of what's going on there. So give me a thumbs up if this worked out for you guys, and if the audio was okay. Again, it's a totally different setup here than what's at home. I might work in another camera angle here, possibly get a graphic on the TV, maybe some other lighting that might be better, but give me that thumbs up. Let me know it worked, looked good, sounded good. Stuttered a little, someone says. 2 drops, somebody else says. Not bad, but mostly good. Starlink's pulling its weight. And listen, I mean, you're talking about, to put out high-def video, it's a lot of bandwidth that's needed, so I'm kind of impressed here. Only a couple of hiccups. I will enjoy the road while I'm in a remote location. I still got plenty of work to do, so I'm going to be working inside the camper here, but I think it's worked out. So appreciate you guys being part of it here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning here for the latest you need to know in the land of Lincoln.